Hi, everyone. It's Jeff Fisher of High School Football America, joined by a very good friend, Troy McAllister, the new head coach at Sandburg High School, Orland Park, outside of Chicago. He was the former head guy at Phillips Academy. What a storybook he wrote there. We're going to talk about that. But first, got to welcome you in here. Good to see you, Coach, and congratulations on the new gig.
Thanks, Jeff. It's great to be here, and I really appreciate it.
Well, I guess we can't look forward without looking back. For those of you that don't know the Phillips Academy story there, two state championships. If I remember correctly, Coach, 12 players, maybe a football, maybe enough uniforms to start a team. So I know it had to be a hard decision. We're going to ask about that. But tell me a little bit about what led you to the new gig at Sandburg.
Yeah, I think obviously with the pandemic and everything that's transpired in the past year and a little bit, life just changed for everything, and it became an opportunity for a fresh start and to kind of push myself professionally, and it was a challenge I was ready to take.
So for the people that don't know the Phillips Academy story, let's spend a few minutes here doing that because like I said, it is almost like a storybook. The fact that you didn't have a whole lot and end up becoming the first Chicago public school team to win not one but two state championships. Take us back to that day, and how different is it from I'm assuming you've got a football at Sandburg, right?
So yeah, I mean, a lot of you talked earlier. We went from 12 players and over the course of time built it up to playing in 3 state championship games, winning 2, losing 1, sending countless players onto a high level of football at the next step in their journey, and just overcoming all odds, obstacles that were put in our way. And obviously through generous people like yourself, it made it possible.
You had a big decision obviously to make because you had the program. I know I've spent a lot of time talking to you, so I know you had the program where you wanted to be. We know the difficulties that you had within CPS, not because it is CPS, it's just inner city schools are difficult. How hard was the decision to tell the kids about your decision to move to Sandburg? Let us be a little fly on the wall. What was that conversation like when you had to tell the kids?
Yeah, I think any coach will tell you there's never a good time to leave. So with that in mind, I'm a firm believer in being upfront and honest. So it was having that discussion with the young men, and with the way it's been in Chicago and with Chicago public schools, it had to happen remotely, which was troublesome in its own right because you want to do it in person. But I still at least was able to talk to them that way, and they were super supportive. And it wasn't an easy conversation, but for me personally, it was time to have a change professionally and kind of take the next step in my career.
And before we go forward here, because you've been so kind and generous to us and letting us look inside your program, I got to meet one person that I know you had a lot of respect for, the principal there, Mr. Sullivan. And what I wanted you to talk about is the importance that you had from within that school that allowed you to do some things that isn't really possible in CPS, right? You guys rose above it all, and certainly you need the players, you need the coaches and all that, but you've also got to have some support, and I would think he did that for you. Can you talk a little bit about that for me?
Yeah, so to keep it straightforward, Chicago Public Schools makes it really difficult to have a successful football program, due to lack of investment, lack of resources, and almost a lack of care. But at Phillips, we've been blessed to have unbelievable administrative support through my 11 years there, even before Mr. Sullivan, with Mr. Horton and Mr. Little. And obviously Mr. Sullivan has embraced the program and the young men in it, and supported us, very much so, gone above and beyond what he needed to do to ensure that we were able to compete at the highest level. And he understood the vision that we had for our program and where we wanted to get to. And he thought it was awesome. And he thought it was something that was achievable. And because of his support, it just allowed us to have things that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I was blessed to see it from the inside, and both of you deserve kudos. And now let's kind of go all the way forward here. So again, wasn't easy when you got there. You don't have those same challenges, but I was just curious, what are some of the things that you learned during that time at Phillips and advancing your career to the point where you can take this big job? What are some of the things that actually work there you feel that you can bring in? What are some of the things you might have to do a little bit differently? What's your kind of outlook on that?
Yeah, I think I was lucky to be able to have a lot of trial and error at Phillips. So just having that ability to try things, and if they worked, learn from it, keep doing that. And if it didn't work, same idea, learning from it and saying, let's not ever do that again. But over that course of time, you start to realize, okay, these things will be effective no matter where it is. And from that, able to utilize that hopefully in this next position at Sandburg to push it to another level.
What about the building of the staff? Did you bring anybody from Phillips? I know that one of your staff people is going to take over at Phillips. So talk a little bit about the building of the staff at Sandburg.
Yeah, so Joe Winslow is going to take over the program at Phillips. He's been our offensive coordinator. I was the offensive coordinator for the past 10 years. He's an awesome coach. He deserves it. He's earned it. And I really think he's going to take the program to another level, which is exciting because you want to make sure, obviously you want to leave the program better than you had it when you got it. And Joe's in a great spot to have a lot of success, and he's a great person and a great coach. I'm taking a couple of coaches. Obviously with the distance between these two schools, I would have loved to bring everybody with me, but also being cognizant of wanting to leave Phillips in good hands as well. But taking a couple of coaches with me, obviously the O-line coach is coming, Tyler Clark. He's a young coach. And as an offensive guy, you got to have your line coach to be successful. And then I've been able to, a former coach, Dion Robinson, who's coaching the D-line, is going to come, a former coach at Phillips. He's going to come out to Sandburg and coach as well. And was able to take Bill Ziemba. He was a head coach in the public league at Solario High School, but he's going to make the move out to Sandburg to help out there as well. And then obviously there's a handful of coaches at Sandburg who are great. The defensive coordinator, Andy Gerhardstein. Sorry, I got to make sure to try to get okay. I think I'm still off. Coach G.
There you go.
Yeah, he's awesome. We had to sit down right away, and he's a Sandburg through and through, and he's great. He's awesome with the young men there, and then several of the other staff that were there before. So kind of keeping some of the tradition of guys that were there, and then bringing guys in that I know I can trust, so to speak, to help and know me as well and know my coaching style, so that when I want things done, they know what it's about. And the new coaches, it gives them a filter before they say, what's this crazy person doing? And they can say, no, it's all good. Just let them go.
I think there's a proven formula there that has worked for you. Describe the tradition there. I know you haven't been there all that long yet, but how would you describe the tradition at Sandburg for the people around the country or even in Illinois that may not know about it?
Yeah, so they play in arguably the toughest public league conference in the state. You've got Lincoln Way East, who's always if they're not in the state championship game, they are the state champ at the 8A level. Homewood Flossmoor, another 8A power. Bolingbrook, another 8A power. And then Lockport, which is a up and coming, but used to be a 8A power. And for those that don't know, it's in Sandburg's, a 3,000 student building. So they play in the highest possible class in the States, which is for me a big opportunity and a big challenge. And I think Sandburg had a great run, kind of in the 90s, early 2000s, where they were, always in the state playoffs, getting to the quarterfinal level, but we're never quite able to take the next step. And then over the past, 4 or 5 years, there's been a natural decline, or not natural, but just a decline in the production level. And I'm hoping to kind of take it back to what it used to be, and then obviously take another step forward from there.
For those of you around the country that don't know it, Illinois played their football season in the spring, or for the most part, played a full 6-game regular season in the spring, which means a quick turnaround time, right? You had the long wait to play the 2020 season in 2021. Now you've got this quick turnaround. Good to that, bad to that? Well, what's your take on it for your team?
I think that the biggest thing that most coaches are worried about across the state is just the health of the players and the recovery time. So I don't know of many teams that have been, we have our 20 contact days for the summer in Illinois. We usually don't have spring football. So a lot of teams are using June as a conditioning piece, which is what we've done out at Sandburg. So it's just some weight training, just some speed work, and then using July to implement your install and put in your contact days, so to speak. Because first and foremost, we want to make sure everybody's fully recovered, and football's it's a short season typically, but one that is very intense, and you get after it, and it's physically challenging and physically demanding, and you do need recovery time from it. So we've been very cognizant of that to make sure that the young men in the Sandburg program get their recovery, and use June to kind of build them up. And then once July, after the holiday hits, we got a lot of install to do, so we'll take care of that.
Yeah. Any leftover things from COVID that are going to make the season not look like a normal season would, from the state, from a state perspective, or is it kind of as it was before? It'll look like the 2019 season.
So they've gotten rid of the caps on spectators, which is great. So you're going to have a full house again. And the mask policy is slowly going away for the student athletes, which is great. I think it's difficult to play a football game with a mask on. And so hopefully it'll be fully gone for the season. And then for coaches, if we have to wear a mask, I don't think any one of us care as long as we're out there.
Yeah.
And I think that to me is the bigger thing, just making sure we're out there.
Yeah, and the safety obviously coming first and all that. What, again, only a few weeks there. What's the response been? Did the kids know who Troy McAllister coming in? Did that great story? Because you became a national story, and not because of us, but a lot of people caught what you were doing. So was there a little bit of familiarity with Coach McAllister as you walked in there for the first meeting?
I think people the student athletes may have looked me up to see who I was. But there was some excitement, and there still is. And we've been doing a lot of culture and team building through the first couple of weeks, just to kind of get the mindset right. And you can see the excitement. The workouts have been awesome. It's a great group of young men, and I'm excited to grow with them and see where we can take them.
I'm assuming as you contemplated moving away from Phillips, you probably gave a little check, report card on yourself. This is a guy that comes down from Canada, into the American game, couldn't get the HC job, except at maybe arguably the worst high school football program in America, and you win 2 state titles, and just, more importantly, sending kids to the next level. Did you do a report card on yourself? What do you think you did really well, and what do you think you have to improve upon as you go into this new challenge at Sandburg?
Yeah, I think that the big thing is one of the things I think we did well is we always were able to take another step forward in the program. So we didn't allow complacency to set in. And we even pushed up in class to challenge ourselves a little more. And I think that was good for the young men in the program to keep pushing them forward, because life is full of challenges, and life is, full of ups and downs, and you have to be willing to take those head on. So I feel that we, as a whole group and coaching staff at Phillips, did a great job of pushing the young men to achieve something that they didn't think they could possibly do. And, deep down, I know we did a great job of our number one goal, which is, obviously taking boys and helping them to become young men, and trying to create better husbands, better fathers, and more productive members of society. So from that standpoint, I think we did a great job.
Yeah, I would say you won a state championship every year when it came to that part of the equation, and that means off the field. So, congrats on that. A couple more questions, I'll let you go. I've been asking this of every coach. What did you learn during COVID, specifically about yourself? I know you lost a friend during the pandemic. I was just curious how it, what you learned about yourself, how it's maybe changed you going into this year, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think for me personally, um, you just learn not to take things for granted. Um, I think a lot of times we go through life and we kind of get on cruise control, um, and you don't take time to appreciate what's on your left, what's on your front, what's on your right, what's in front, what's in behind. And the pandemic has definitely taught me that to enjoy every moment, embrace it, and even the hard times, you have to take a look around and realize who's important to you, what's important to you, so you can put your time and your effort into those things, uh, and just embrace it.
I think we've done maybe 2 or 3 podcasts, done some other stuff. We're doing this today. I think one thing that I haven't asked you, and I'm probably remiss, and I'm going to ask that question now because you're the guy doing the interview, but you were the guy also away from your own family for a long time, right? As you raised Phillips up, and I'd like to talk about your support that you have within your own family structure to make what's happening right now for you happen. Because again, for people that don't know it, and if you don't know it, you're kind of stupid, I guess is the best way to put it. Football coaches generally spend more time with their football team family than they do with their own family. So can you talk a little bit about the wind beneath your wings?
Yeah, so obviously, my fiance Raquel is unbelievable. We got a 9-month-old daughter now and a 4-year-old son. Um, and the football season, she allows me to do what I do, and and it's a super challenge because I'm gone early in the morning and I'm home late at night. So all of the parent responsibilities in terms of, typically she'll take the baby and I take our son Cash, and I'll get him ready and she gets the baby and we go from there. Same thing. And then picking up from school, daycare, all of those things that you do together, all of a sudden becomes a 1-person job. And being a football coach, I've learned over time it's more about quality than it is quantity, right? You learn how to be more time, utilize time management, be more effective in what you do, because that's so important, because it gets you more time with your family. But there's still so much time away. And, without her support, I wouldn't be able to do this. And when I was considering the move to Sandburg, she was like, my question was this, literally my question was to sit down with it, was just like, are you okay with this? Because this is now going to change everything in terms of just my investment. Like, it's another level, it's 8A, it's the next step forward. It's kind of rebuilding all over again. And she was just like, I know you got to do this. And for me, like, to her unselfishness to just say, I know you need to do this professionally. And with all that's gone on in the past year, and obviously losing our defensive coordinator at Phillips, who's my best friend, Mike Larson, it was just, she knew I needed a challenge to really push myself to get more and do more. And she was all for it.
It's the first part of the team that usually doesn't even get publicized. So I'm glad you took a few seconds there. Last question going away. And again, I know you're pretty new there. You talked about, you got your 20 days coming up. You got your weight room stuff you're doing, and then you got fall camp. Do you have some goals that you set, no matter how big or how small, and some of the boxes you want to check before you get to that first game in 2021?
Yeah. So we kind of went through our team goals, and obviously the first one is to be 1-0 after week 1. I think every coach would tell you that. I mean, that's a goal. That's what you're pushing for, to get the season started off on a right note. And one of our big ones to me for the senior class, they've been through a lot. And the program at Sandburg, I think the seniors going into their senior year, they've got 6 total varsity wins in their first 3 years. So I've made it a stated goal for the team that we want to get in the state playoffs. And it's going to be a challenge. It's not like it's a simple thing. You just show up and it happens. But it was a big push to the seniors. And I said, that's what the coaching staff's going to do. We're going to do everything we possibly can to achieve that. We're going to need, and obviously they're going to have to sacrifice and give up a lot of the things they're used to. And then finally is just kind of on the campus out there, making sure that the team's well respected. And regardless of the wins and losses, we want to be the most respected team on the campus.
Pretty good goals. Coach, congratulations on all that's happened to you through the course of your time at Phillips, and we wish you nothing but success. We know it's going to be there. As I said at the beginning, I know your passion for your kids, and that comes through. And that no matter what anybody says, yeah, X's and O's make a difference, but really, buying into the kids can make a difference in that win and loss record too. So congratulations, appreciate your friendship, and look forward to watching you turn the Sandburg program around and make it something that's. I know they have a good wrestling program there, so maybe you can achieve that type of thing.
Thanks a lot for the time today, Jeff. I really do appreciate it.